First of all, thank you for being with us.
I was glad to be here.
And I remember talking to you soon after you retired, or maybe right before you retired, and you were really looking forward to retirement. All of a sudden, you're back in the center of the firestorm. How did this happen?
Well, as I think that, first of all, as I didn't really retire. I just moved on to a different career. I was doing some legal work, and I was doing some lobbying, too, for some clients. So I think that I got back into the game because I was still on the Republican National Committee, as I was still interested in what happened to the Ohio Republican Party. And I think, they just had a few missteps from an organizational standpoint, and a few people asked me if I'd consider coming back. I told them I wouldn't take it on as a new career, but I'd stay around for a couple of years and help things settle down. And I think we have. We've settled them down, and we're pretty unified right now. And under the Governor Kasich's leadership in the campaign this year, I think we're going to do well for Governor Romney, and we're going to have a good ground game going. And I think everybody's pulling together on the same yokes.
Well, there's a certain irony to the fact that the Republicans had such sweeping victories last time around, and yet all of a sudden there was all this party infighting. It's no secret that Kevin DeWine and John Kasich were at loggerheads about the direction of the party. People from the outside were looking at that and saying, how can that be?
Well, look, I think that there was they never had an opportunity to really get to know one another, and I think that if you look at John Kasich's career as before he was governor, if you look at his congressional career where he balanced the budget and he left there, he went into the private sector. At the same time that Kevin was coming out or into the public sector as Speaker Pro Tem of the House and then party chairman, I don't think the two of them really got to know one another. And then as they go through the campaign in 2010, there were so many competing interests out there, I think, within the party, that whatever happened, I think, began probably back in 2010, but it's over and done with. We're looking to the future right now, so we're not paying attention to what happened in the past. As I think Kevin's happy with what he's doing. He's on the National Committee, and I think the governor's happy with the direction of the party, and when I've talked to him, he's been very pleased with it, and we're going to continue to do the things that we do best in Ohio, which is elect a lot of Republicans at the local level.
Well, when you came back into the party, you came in the middle of a year that really, we had the Senate Bill 5 argument that it kind of got through here. We've seen in Wisconsin that the Republicans survived what was really a challenge, some people are saying, to public unions because the governor was up for a recall election. How does all that play, do you think? What went on in Wisconsin, what was happening in Ohio? From your standpoint, how are you looking at all of it?
Well, I think there's two things that the way you look at it is. Number one is Issue 5 was one of the first bills that was out under Governor Kasich. I think there was probably an overreaching putting the police and fire into the issue. There's no question that there was some legitimate concerns when Issue 5 or Senate Bill 5 was put on the ballot. It was Issue 2, actually, on the ballot last fall. And I think the people have spoken. I think the governor has said it very well. The people have spoken. We're going to leave that alone. I think right now we're going to address some pension reform, which they've done. And I think, they've involved the Public Employees Union. The situation in Wisconsin was a little different, Colleen, because up there, as you know, the governor got through the legislature the changes that he wanted to make, and curbing some of the excesses with the strong civil service and strong unions. I think that the public employees, particularly in Wisconsin, were exceeding the private sector, what was being paid in the private sector. So when they tried to recall the governor, that's a pretty drastic step. And I think people have some thoughts as a campaign unfolds. So I think, the people spoke. I think it was a big victory for Governor Walker, but it's also an indication of what Republican governors have done throughout the country, whether it's Governor Christie, but look at Governor Kasich here in creating over 70,000 new jobs while the rest of the country is not doing it. California is bankrupt. Illinois is bankrupt. If you look at Republican leadership across the country, including Governor Kasich, and what's being done here. We're creating jobs. We're diversifying the economy. If you look at those 70,000 jobs, 23 of them are in the healthcare industry, which is a growth industry for Ohio, whether you look at Cleveland or Columbus with the new Children's Hospital here, and the expansion that's taken place is I think that the governor is right on the right track and everything.
Well, you now are in the middle of also the firestorm on the national level, because you mentioned earlier you're going to be working, obviously, for Governor Romney here in the state of Ohio. You know, we talked a little earlier. Are you stunned at the money that is pouring into this state from both parties?
Well, let me put it this way. I lived through 2004, so I thought I'd never see another election like this, but I think this year is going to be like 2004. So those people who remember what happened 8 years ago, we're in the same type of an election. This is a ground game, and if you look at just Saturday, you know, we're in all 88 counties knocking on doors, you know, with the Romney campaign, and we have volunteers in all those 88 counties. And I didn't think it was possible that we'd be able to get people out in some of those smaller counties, you know, knocking on doors on a Saturday, but we're able to do it. And I think it makes a big difference in that personal contact, because this is going to be a ground game. And the Obama people are going to be out in the urban areas, and they're going to be knocking on doors, and we're going to have to do it in our suburban counties and our ring counties, as we call them, and some of our rural counties. And sometimes that's a little bit more difficult. But I think that this is going to be an election like 2004, not 2008.